We all know the story of Julius Caesar, right? The brilliant general, the charismatic statesman, the man who shaped Rome and whose name is synonymous with power. But what if I told you the story we've been taught is only half the picture? What if the path to Caesar's ultimate glory was paved not just with strategic genius, but with ruthless ambition, shocking brutality, and some of the most effective propaganda the world had ever seen? Let's uncover the dark side of Caesar's rise. Our story often starts with the Gallic Wars. We hear about Caesar's stunning victories against the Celtic tribes, but the official record, the Gallic Wars, was written by Caesar himself. Think of it as the ultimate ancient PR campaign. He portrayed himself as the defender of Rome, a hero bringing civilization to the barbarians. The reality, many historians now see it as a brutal war of aggression, a genocide even. Caesar's own writings admit to the slaughter of entire tribes, the enslavement of millions, and the destruction of countless settlements. This wasn't just war, it was a campaign to enrich himself, pay off his massive debts, and build a fiercely loyal army that answered only to him, not to the Roman Senate. He used the spoils of Gaul to buy influence back in Rome, creating a power base that threatened the very fabric of the Republic. And then there's the betrayal. The first triumvirate, an alliance between Caesar, the wealthy Caesar, and the great general Pompey, wasn't a partnership of friends. It was a classic case of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. They banded together to break the power of the Senate. But once Crassus was killed in battle, the alliance crumbled. Pompey, once Caesar's son-in-law, became his greatest rival. The Senate, fearing Caesar's power and his loyal legions, sided with Pompey and ordered Caesar to disband his army. This was the moment of truth. Caesar stood at the Rubicon River, the legal boundary of his province. To cross it with his army was an act of treason, a declaration of civil war. His famous line, "The die is cast," wasn't a hero's proclamation. It was the decision of a man willing to plunge his own country into bloodshed to seize power. The civil war that followed was devastating. Romans fought Romans, from the fields of Italy to the sands of Egypt. It was a conflict fueled by one man's refusal to give up power. After defeating Pompey and his other rivals, Caesar returned to Rome, not just as a general, but as a dictator. He was named dictator for life, an unprecedented title that shattered Roman tradition. He stacked the Senate with his loyalists, controlled the treasury, and put his face on coins, something previously reserved for gods. To the people, he was a hero who brought stability and gave them bread and circuses. But to the old guard of the Republic, he was a tyrant who had destroyed their way of life. His assassination wasn't just a random act of violence. It was a desperate, last-ditch effort by a group of senators, including his supposed friend, Brutus, to restore the Republic. They saw themselves as liberators, not murderers. Of course, their plan backfired spectacularly, leading to another bloody civil war and the ultimate rise of Caesar's heir, Octavian, who would become Augustus, the first Roman emperor. So, the legacy of Julius Caesar is far more complex than we often admit. He was undeniably brilliant, a visionary leader who enacted popular reforms, but his ambition knew no bounds. His path to power was soaked in the blood of Gauls and fellow Romans alike, built on self-serving propaganda, and marked by the betrayal of his closest allies and the destruction of the very republic he claimed to serve. He was a hero to some, a monster to others, but above all, he was a stark reminder that history is rarely black and white, and power, almost always, has a dark and bloody price. Thanks for watching. If you found this dive into the shadows of history interesting, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more.